Hey Ian, you ready?
You bet I am. What are we talking about tonight? And talk about guns?
If it's not a 30 cal, I'm not in.
Jeez, mate, that's not very inclusive. Have you seen Jono?
Hey Jono, you ready?
Well, God knows where he is, mate. He's probably caught up in the neighbour's wire again. Are you ready to go? Let's do this.
Mate, I'm ready. Let's crank it up.
Righto then. Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the Hunters Campfire, where we're going to talk about all things hunting and the great outdoors. And we'll probably throw in a few tips along the way.
You want a tip? Say it once, say it 1,000 times. Goats love rocks.
Or a few things about deer. Mark, what do you reckon about deer?
As a deer hunter, I love hunting pigs.
Well, that's about as useful as I expected it to be. Oh, check it out. Here comes Jono. He's being chased by the neighbour's dog.
Okay guys, let's get this started. Welcome to the Hunters Campfire. Pull up a chair, get comfortable. It's time for the Hunters Campfire.
And a one, and a one, and a 1, 2, 3. We're on.
I didn't see the countdown. Did it happen?
It happened.
I missed it.
You were looking at the other screen. How are we, mate? It's
Confused.
you're confused. There we go. Well, I hit the go button. You didn't know. Incognito style. We're off and running. Podcast number, I have no idea, but it's great. Yeah.
19 or 120. We got one last week. Did we put the last week one out?
I don't know.
It's either one, not 120.
Yeah. But the last podcast we put out went up, down, up, down, up, down, because turns out that Mark disappeared halfway through the podcast. John and I continued to shit talk for 20 minutes while Mark did what Mark does, and we forgot to chop that out. So if you managed to listen to our ramblings, sorry about that. There was a little bit of cussing, a little bit of swearing, a little bit of things we probably shouldn't have said, but yeah, you can't hear it now, so you can't go back and listen to it anyway.
And I wasn't involved in it, so
yeah, that's right.
I'm clean.
You're in the clear.
Your Honour.
Yeah, I only cracked talk about 4 people through that period of time. Yeah, I hope they weren't listening. It's okay.
I didn't even know that. It's like that. What's the name? It's like the signal thing for Trump and his cabinet.
Yeah. That's right.
But I was the opposite. I wasn't inadvertently left put on. I inadvertently walked away from it.
Well, my trash talking was mainly at Rob Camp because I was giving him shit because Rob's coming to Buffalo Camp with us this year.
So why were we shit canning him?
Well, I was shit canning him because I rang him and I said, mate, you're not coming to our hunt camp. He goes, I know, man. I've got so much on, and timing's just not working out. And And I said, yeah, but aren't you going to Matt Clark's camp? He goes, yeah. I said, mate, what's going on there? Where's the loyalty? Sorry, Matt.
Really?
No respect, buddy. Yeah, that's what I said. I said, and I had this royally huge gift. Those big bank checks, like this massive bank check style gift certificate I was going to present to Rob saying, welcome to Buffalo trip 2020. But you're not going to be there to take it, so I'm going to have to raffle it off. He's like, no, I'm coming. Anyway, not that I'm trying to buy your guests back over to our camp, Matt, but got to do what you got to do. And Rob's still coming. So
I'm a little bit hurt by that.
Don't be. He's not only appearing at Hunt Camp 2025, he's presenting. So if you want to know all about Athena Spatial, soon to be rebranded here.
Okay, really?
New name. There's the Scoop.
To Trader Joe.
No, well, there's a few names banning around. I like some of them and I don't like others. So we'll see.
Okay.
But he'll rebrand. There's a reason for it. That's cool. Good on him. But it's interesting because you kind of almost associate mapping with Athena now, don't we?
Well, yeah. Actually, it's actually the opposite. I don't say I've got a Venza. I say I run Athena.
I know. He's going to hurt his soul by saying these things. You know that.
Technically, I'm using it the wrong way, but that's the kind of thinking process.
I kind of do too. But anyway, he's got a reason he has to do it, so he's doing it. But he's going to show up and present.
Suing him.
No, I don't think anyone's suing him. I don't think that's the case. But anyway, that was the trash talk that you might have heard. I think I might have said a couple of things about a couple other things going on. Yeah, anyway, it was inappropriate. So I apologise if you got to listen to that. You would have been really confused because it rabbited on for about 20 minutes and there was good packets of, 2 minutes of dead silence.
Wow.
And then Jono professed he needed to go and take a piss. So off he went. So,
Somehow I missed it all. There you go,
yeah.
eh?
Now I've chopped it all out.
Always the bridegroom, never the bride.
Never mind. What's the week been doing?
Well, as you do this time of year, I'm very much watching the weather every minute. I'm sending text messages to people in the Brisbane Valley, trying to get input about what's happening in regards to the red deer, basically. A week to go, or no, less a week to go. I'll be on the road sometime very early next Tuesday morning. And I mean very early. I want to get up there and I want to have boots on the ground for first light. Wednesday morning.
Wednesday.
Yeah, leave. Oh yeah. Well, look, I've been thinking about that. I think if it rains as it looks like it will do, this will be my 4th year of being rained on in the rule.
It's very interesting, isn't it? We talked about this a little bit last podcast with Jono and about deer behaviour when they get wet.
So.
We'll
my observation.
We'll come back to that. Okay. What's the week been doing though? So you're watching the weather.
Oh, the week. Okay.
You were up at the block last weekend, were you?
That's right. So I was at the block last. So let's rewind. The week that was. If we're going to talk about the week that was, the first thing I really want to talk about is I want to give out a shout out to the Australian Pig Doggers and Hunters Association. Because Ned Macon and co are currently, or maybe it's over now, but we're at some kind of national conference about feral pigs, which just sounds a bit odd, but obviously it's about the feral pig problem. And Ned and crew had a trade stand. When you go to those conferences, they have the trade stands, people out in the front. Yep. Ned's been manning that with others. And, he's promoting public land hunting in Queensland.
Awesome.
So you got to just...
Go, Ned.
Dip your lid to it, the guy, man. He's out there promoting public land hunting in Queensland. Saying let's trial it, let's do this, let's do that. That's what we want. That's what we want. Come on, guys. That's really what we want. So, if you're like me, I joined them. I don't dog. I shoot pigs. So I'm the hunter part of that one, I suppose. I just think they're a fantastic organisation. I think they're doing a fantastic job. And I mean, he was going through what they've achieved in, they've got some kind of memorandum of understanding with the property owner up in the Northern Territory. They're putting together, hunting practice guides for one of the land councils up there. Man, they're just doing some fantastic stuff. So
yeah, they are really doing good stuff.
Get behind them.
Yep.
They're fighting a good fight, and they're doing it in a way where they're being very, very proactive, making relationships, not getting out saying stupid things online about various people. They're getting out there and doing it. So I think that's the big one. That's really what I've been impressed with this week. I'm getting my gear ready. I've already started doing my gear stuff, starting to put it downstairs. Got the backpack out. I'm going to be taking the Tatonka up. I usually hunt when I'm with the cameras with my Kuyu pack, but I'm taking the Tatonka for meat hauling. Went to the range, got the rifle sighted in, met a couple of people at the range, gave one of the guys a hand. He gave us a shout out on Facebook, which is very kind of him. Got the 3006 running like a dream, the murder machine that it is. I'm going to stick with the 180s through this season.
Same caliber 308, right?
Well, no, not same caliber. Not same projectiles either. No same, and no same. So no same. So different rifle, different caliber, different projectiles. And the reason I put that together in the 3006 is so it's going to be Samba ready when you and I shoot down south in August, grab it and away we go.
Hellenic Hunters. Here we come. We're doing it.
So the 3006 is set up for deer only this year. I'm going to put a scope on my BRX.
Oh, I've done the same.
I'm going to say my BRX is going to be my 308 Let's Go rifle this year. I'm going to put Indy back into safe for a while. Run the I'm going to have a year or a season of running the BRX.
Love the BRX.
And the reason I'm doing that is because my boy, I think, may eventually be a BRX shooter because he's a righty, and 10 minutes later,
yeah, it's so good.
Around,
it's such a great. I was talking to
hand rifle.
I was talking to Lawson down at Venture about a lot of things because I've been hunting with him and walking the hills. And he reckons they're a really popular gun. Like lots of people come in chasing the BRX now. It's a bloody good platform, and man, it's been rock solid. It's been very robust in all sorts of shitty conditions. So good on Beretta for making a top quality rifle.
And there's actually like a new gen coming out too.
Yeah,
It's the same rifle, but it's just got a lot of different variances in it now.
lots
There's
of cool stock, lots of cool bits. Yeah,
big box magazine one. There's fancy timber version. There looks like there's going to be a dangerous game version, so on a 375 caliber. About that, whilst that's kind of go, yeah, you can get plenty of rifles in 375. You can't get plenty of left-handed rifles in 375. If BRX comes out in 375, then you have a left-hand rifle.
Yeah.
That's it. So all of a sudden, that whole issue that lefties have where, the manufacturers bring out a smaller range of calibers in left hand, that doesn't matter. If they bring it out, if the BRX has it in that caliber, it's now a left-hand caliber because the changeover.
Beauty. You're going to be a convert.
Yeah, that's it. So
especially if it comes out with some quality timber stocks and things like that.
Yeah, there's
options. Yeah.
So that's pretty exciting. But for me, the big stuff is the red deer. So I'm watching the weather. Looks like we've got another weather event coming through. The latest prediction is going to, well, it hasn't been on the coast though as heavy. So I mean, we're going up to, I'm going up past near Kilcoy, so it's kind of coastal. But they reckon that'll come in on Friday and Saturday. So that's when it's going to come in. And as I said, I've hunted the last 4 years in the rain. Actually, there's a couple of videos last year and the year before me driving up there, and it's just like just driving up in that hellish mess.
Take your boat.
So that's it. And there's the photo that we've used where it's basically me under a tarp up there. So I'm expecting that it will be rainy.
Yeah.
I'm almost done. And the good news is I've had someone sent me some video of a deer roaring in the Brisbane Valley, which is pretty cool. Yep. And I've also had some very good reports of deer roaring all the way down south near the New South Wales Vic border, but they were reds, both so roaring, so reds. So I would assume the fallow can't be too far off.
Yeah. So I've got reports down in New England of the fallow starting to make noises, some of the young ones. Some of the big fellas are now in on cameras. I've got some pretty cool photos of big fellas that have come in on cameras. They're not racking up yet, but they're certainly moving into position. So, they'll let the young fellas do all the circle work and round up all the girls and get them all towy, and then they'll come in and waste less energy as they do. Smart, those fellas. Nundle Hanging Rock area had an early croak. Again, suspect that's just the young ones getting a bit edgy again, like it does every year. That usually happens a month or so before. That was about a month before we're going to be there. So fingers crossed all the timing's lining up as it should. But we'll see how it goes. We'll be down there in a couple of weeks. And, man, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be an epic trip. But, yeah, my eye's still on red deer. I did a scout trip with Lawson from Nature's Perks. Where are we now? Late last week. This time last week I went out and basically just went and scouted the gullies that I'm going to be working in. And 3,000 hectare, 13,000 acre property. It's broken into a number of different areas. As you can imagine, I'm hunting one side exclusively. There's a fella that won the red deer hunt raffle that'll be hunting the other side with these guys as well. So I'll go in and meet the winner and have a yarn with him in camp and see how he gets on. And then I'll jump over into my gully system and go and hunt that. I'm plenty of sign. Too late in the day by the time we got there to see any deer. I saw deer in other parts of the block. I know they're around, and it's the same place that I shot a young spiker for the local hunting club this time sort of last year, just to help them with the taxidermy display. So I know they're in the area. Plenty of sign, some good wallows that are down there. Rub trees are happening. I just didn't lay eyes on them during the scout, but that's fine. I'll be there for 3-4 nights, just up early listening for the roaring and starting up high and doing what I need to do. I expect it's going to be wet as hell. I reckon the system's going to last longer than it's predicted. So the clear days that I'm looking at on the forecast right now, I reckon they're going to get wet and we're going to be uncomfortable. But that's okay. We'll talk about hunting in the rain in a minute because I think there's some absolute advantages of that.
There is. I found there is, yes.
Yeah. So I chucked a short up today. So today being the 27th of March 2025. It's up on the Insta and Facebook page, a little short of what we've done. And, yeah, go and have a look at that. It's quite a cool little video. Where'd you go? Oh, you're back.
Just at the door. I actually was quite impressed with that short. It's like that Remington shaver ad. I'm so impressed. I'm not going to buy the company, but I'm going to buy a drone.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah, so
Now
that's it. I was really impressed with it.
I want to play you something if I can get it working on my phone. So bear with me.
So whilst doing that, hang on.
Here we go. You ready? I'm going to try and play this. Tell me if you can hear it. I'm going to play this into my microphone. See if you recognize it from about a year ago.
Before I take this extremely heavy pack off, I wanted to give you some appreciation. Listening to the Poddy has kept hunting in my mind all the time, has kept me thinking about it and staying vigilant. And always just keeping it on my mind, and your podcast is one of the biggest reasons of that. Thank you for your advice on the LRFs the other day. I don't think they're the whole reason I got this big red, but they certainly helped. So he's a bit hard to see while he's on my pack, but he weighs a ton. Tell you what, it's a dangerous day to be a can of 4X in my 12 volt. Thanks, boys.
So that was. Do you remember that from a year ago?
Yeah, I remember. What triggered the memory was we've just seen the latest video,
right? Which I'll play now.
Which he talks. It's the Poddy. It's the Poddy reference.
It's the Poddy, right? So that was 12 months ago. Jake sent that message in after shooting a nice red, and then 2 days ago he sent this one.
Well, boys, did it again. Fellow this year. That's a PB for me. This backpack is heavy, and the ute is a long way away. Thanks for the Poddy. Love what you do. Going home tomorrow, and then we're off to chase reds for Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
That was Jake getting it done. Good on you, Jake. 2 years in a row. Guess who gets a T-shirt? Yeah, we're going to send him a T-shirt. We're giving away like lollies.
I think we have to make a T-shirt that says, I listen to the Poddy.
Listen to the Poddy. Anyway, if you're listening, mate, like always, if you're not listening, you won't get your T-shirt, but send me your address, and I will flick you something out to say thanks. It's pretty cool. You keep sending the messages in. We love them. It's great. So during the raw, if you're picking something up, knocking something down, send us a message. We love hearing it. So it's all pretty cool.
Oops. Yes, the Poddy. That's what. As soon as you said that, I remember.
So that's Jake. Good on you, Jake. What a legend. What else is going on?
So are we going to keep circling around before we get to the Reds, or are we going to move the Reds? Because there's other things I want to talk about.
I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
Well, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. So a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about the new Ford Ranger, the electric Ford Ranger. So I've been thinking about that.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that myself.
And you know what I'm thinking about is that car, if that is here's the interesting thing, if that is the kind of system that the next gen of four-wheel drives will be, there is no more 12-volt industry. Well, why would you need a dual battery system if your car's a 20 gigahertz battery, or whatever it is? Okay, so why would I need a dual battery if my car is a battery? I mean, it's an 11 kV battery, then you go buy your 100 ampere. So.
Now, let's just play with the terminology for a second. You're saying that if my car is a battery, I don't need a dual battery system.
Well, why would you get a dual?
Well,
mean, it's like
that would depend. And I'm not an auto electrician by any stretch of the imagination, but there's a very big difference between an accessory battery and a crank battery.
Yeah, but again, if this thing has the output they're saying that it can power a welder in the tray, then why do you need an accessory battery?
You mean an accessory battery?
So the second thing is then, so the second thing comes into play then is, why do you need 12-volt accessories?
Well,
why wouldn't you have an induction cooker rather than if you can basically plug in and get AC output?
Absolutely.
Why do you want 12-volt? Why do you want a 12-volt fridge when you can just go buy a fridge that runs on 240? And why do you want a
there's efficiencies. There's efficiencies, but when you've got massive batteries, efficiencies don't matter.
That's right. The only reason we run 12 volt is because that's the output that a internal combustion motor can generate. And so what you do is you have step up transformers, and you have things, so you have an inverters, and so you can run 240. Well, this thing does that for you.
Oh, I agree. That was the
240 from basically it's 240 from the firewall. So your fridge is just going to be a normal fridge, or at least it might be one of those cool travel upright fridges, that pertinent thing. You know, why would you bother with gas? You're going to have an induction cooker. You just buy an induction cooker. Why are you going to worry about lighting? Because you can just power the thing. So there's a whole raft of kind of stuff that this thing makes obsolete. And you're thinking, okay, what do you need for range? Well, I'm assuming the only thing you really need range is a generator. If you're in a situation where you have to charge a battery, so if you've got yourself a little Honda generator type thing, if your battery was low and you weren't in the position to charge it, that would be the only kind of, so you could, you know, if you were, for instance, you couldn't drive out because of a fuel issue or something like that, all you would need would be the generator.
I think people are going to adapt really quickly to having enormous battery capability inside of you. There was a post today where someone's tested it off-road, I think Fraser, or on some beach drive. I didn't watch it, but I saw it. I'll go back and have a look at the BYD test on the beach.
Yeah, there's
I don't like that option. I mean, that's a plug-in hybrid, so that works. I think the Ranger they were talking about was a plug-in hybrid as well, right?
Yeah. So the BYD, there's a couple of beach videos. There's also one on Beer O'Clock Hill going up that, and there's a few getting around. You know, I'm not sure of its off-road capability, but we are talking about the first gen type stuff. And, you know, by the looks of it, the one that they had on the Beer O'Clock Hill, it looked very standard. You know, it was running standard tyres and things like that, you know, and it's pretty hard to drive anything up that hill in standard tyres.
Did it get up there?
No, didn't get it. Just couldn't. I was reading something about a guy who's he does beach recovery, that's his business, and he said he recovered this one, but he said it wasn't out of the ordinary, that people just made a mistake. But he said that the amount of torque, he was just blown away by the torque of this thing.
Insane.
And generally, you know, torque's where it's at. So I think that it's a really quite interesting development what will happen in that space if these things do become the standard. The hybrid style ones.
If you're a marketer, you have a really big market to appeal to here. If you talk about it as, you know, the camper's, the outdoor pursuiter's dream, that, you can take all of those electric accessories. Now, back in my car, running off the Blue Eddy, I use it for the coffee machine, and I use it for the induction cooker. I'm on the road all the time for work. It's easy for me to just pull over and cook something or make a coffee rather than buying everything, and I enjoy that. Now I've got to manage that battery because it's a small battery. If that was part of the car system...
That's right. I mean, imagine if you had a Blue Eddy that was like, you know, thousands...
Yeah, you think about, you know, in our situation, charging batteries, charging cameras, charging drones, charging everything, cameras, torches, you know, the whole thing becomes so much easier if you've got a battery system like that.
Well, that's why I got the Blue Eddy, because, you know, I needed something that was big enough to charge everything without running it down, but I could through charge it with solar if we needed to be, or a generator if need be. But it's because it's clean, you know, it's you can run AC out of it.
Yeah.
So it's clean, which is, you know, the great benefit, especially the stuff we're using. So if you've got a vehicle that you can run that clean at that kind of size, or that kind of output, it really changes the whole approach to things.
And as a plug-in hybrid, you can run it on your fuel.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. I mean, the only thing I thought, well, you know, if you were going distance on it, I mean, real distance, and there was a potential that you could run the battery down because you might be out of place for a period of time and you're chewing all that power, other than having something that could basically kick the battery back on without you having to drive it, that's about the only kind of accessory you need.
Got to wonder what sort of solar systems can plug into them.
Yeah.
Oh, mate, they're enormous batteries.
Yeah.
You can't imagine a current solar system's going to put a whole lot of juice back into it. But
no, I was just saying, if you had a good quality generator, you could probably, you know, 3 or 4 hours and enough to get it back up to a level. And I mean, and that's just an efficiency issue, and that will improve over time. So I thought it was quite interesting when we were talking about it. I thought, gee, man, you know, because all that 12-volt gear that I've got, that becomes redundant all of a sudden.
Yeah, hopefully at the same time frame that you're ready to make it redundant because you're ready to buy this new vehicle.
Yeah, well, 12-volt will be around for a long time because, you know, not everyone's swapping to these things. But again, it's another one of those kind of step changes. And I mean, But there's stuff that we've seen redundant even within the time we've been hunting. GPS a separate GPS unit is becoming less and less attractive.
Agreed.
I don't know anyone who carries radios anymore.
I don't bother. I see them pop up on forums from time to time.
Well, people want
them. I mean, I had one in my pack for quite some time with the batteries out and the batteries in a Ziploc bag, so that I knew that I had a fresh set of batteries to put in 2 years' time when I might need it. I've got to remember that I did that, because last time I pulled the radio, I thought, oh, this would be a good idea. Use the radio. Pull the radio. Oh, no, it's got no batteries. It wasn't until later that I remembered that I was smart enough to put them in a bag to keep them charged, but I forgot on the day I needed it. That's all right. But yeah, ZOLEO takes care of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. I mean, if everyone's got ZOLEO as opposed to everyone got radio, then you've got infinitely more accessible, powerful comms.
That's right. Now, people will say, "Yeah, but ZOLEO is expensive, and you've got to pay for subscriptions, and radios are free, but they also have range."
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
The hill that's in front of your face. They're more.
I think that's a really important point, because the cost has to equate to usage. Most times I've tried to use radio in the scrub with other people, it hasn't worked.
Yeah, same.
I've got a CB in my trucks, and it's got a fairly significant aerial hanging off the front, but still in the Pilligo, range is very, very limited. But with the ZOLEOs, whilst you might say the radio is cheaper, if it doesn't do what you want, then it's a false economy. Whereas the ZOLEO, people have said, yeah, they've been in places where it hasn't worked, but I've never experienced that. And the fact that, you can easily communicate with people, it's that step change up, and the same with GPS. I still carry a very small backup GPS, but in the majority of cases, I'm running off the phone now.
Yeah, I run a Garmin Alpha 100 GPS now back on my Bino rig, but that's purely for the dog. It just happens to have maps on it as well.
Yeah,
for the dog, it's got a recall button on it. So if Missy disappears and I can't see her somewhere, first point of call, that GPS talks to my watch, so I can just look at my watch and I can see she's 25 meters over there. That's fine. I just let her go. If I need to be reasonably quiet and I need to get her back into heel, I can push a button. It sends a really quiet tone to her, and she knows to come straight back to me on the tone. Mm-hmm. So I use it as a tool for that. The fact it's got a map on it as well. I'm probably guilty of not even loading the map up on it, to be honest. I just use it for the dog. Yeah. I don't need the map. So, yeah.
That's it's like, Starlink, not what, 18 months ago we're talking about, how can we get signal at camp? And we're looking at satellite systems and we're looking at all these things, and people are going, yeah, you can buy this thing, but it actually has pretty low. It probably won't give you the signal you want for sending out, content from camp.
Yeah.
And then, no, Starlink's this big.
Yeah, it's tiny. It's smaller than that. Yeah, I mean, they're a tiny little unit.
And you could say quite reasonably within 18 months it's going to be about that big.
Well, it's going to be on your phone at some point. It'll be built.
That's right, and then it's going to be in your phone.
Yeah.
And then you're going to go, well, I've now got full-time connectivity. So I think that was really quite interesting, and it really got me thinking about where that's heading and how that technology is heading. Because often technology is technology and hunting is kind of there's a contention around that. But there's certainly other technology that we're not in any way thinking is contentious, and this is that kind of that side of things.
Yeah, well, you go back to the radio. The vehicle that I drive now is the first vehicle I've not installed a two-way in for a long, long time. I didn't bother, and I didn't do it. I basically did it because the only reason I used the radio was in convoy, because it was no good anywhere else for me. So I have a handheld in the glove box, and it's in a cradle which plugs into the SIGI socket. So if I want to use it, I pull it out. It's got a magnet on the back which goes onto the car mount thing on my dashboard, so it just sticks there and it just charges away and I can talk. And that's fine. It works when we're in convoy. But long trips, like up to the territory, both cars got Starlink. The Starlink works while you're driving and you can just make a phone call.
Yeah, well, the only reason I now use, I got a CB in the truck, and the only reason when I use that most is when we're on a family road trip and I'm driving on roads and I'm talking to truck drivers. That's it. And so to me, I won't put another one in. The next vehicle won't have one. If for that reason, I'll buy, as you like yourself, I'll just get a handheld that I can have in there just for that reason. So I'm here, truck driver traffic, like you're passing wide loads and you can talk to the pilot and things like that. That's the only reason.
Yep, and the modern day version of that, modern handheld radio can Bluetooth to your stereo in your vehicle, so you don't have to listen to the shitty squawky speaker. It can come out of your stereo. So it all works now. The technology is really, really caught up. Starlink's going to make the world so much easier. And for me, whether you like it or not, technology, is a contentious issue. But for me, like the whole idea of, exploring even further places that you wouldn't go, and I'm really thinking about New Zealand. Now, I talked about it before. If you go over there with a loose plan of wanting to catch a helicopter out of a certain location, but, sitting there talking to the pilot saying, where do you recommend I go? Because they've got a pretty big range they can get you into. Now, if where you thought you were going to go has already got hunters been dropped in there that afternoon or that morning, or that's been shot out for the last week, and you show up there on an international trip and you're like, I want to go here because I've e-scouted it for the last 6 months and I'm really excited about it. And he says, yeah, but someone's just blowing that valley up, right? Where are you at? What are you going to do? The hunting of old, you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm going anyway. Now, tell me, Mr. Chopper Pilot, where have you not dropped anyone? You service the area. You know where it's going. Just put me wherever you think's the right spot. Now, Chopper Pilot, he wants you to have a good experience. He wants you to come back and have another go at it. He wants you to spend more money. So he's not going to deal you out of a decent spot. When you get on the hill and you drag your Starlink out and you plug your little accessory battery in and you make it go, you can do all the e-scouting you want. You got full Google Earth, all the stuff that you wanted to, make some plans, have a great time. That's a totally different hunting experience. And an exciting one, in my opinion. That's really
what we did if that's what we did in territory.
Yeah. Yep.
We got the map for the territory. We were going to go here. We're looking at this. This is, look, this is fantastic. Get up there. You don't want to go there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
And luckily
all sorts of stuff over there happening. You don't want to go over there. Go here. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
So, and that was the territory. So most definitely being able to flex through technology is what it's all about. You actually want to be successful.
Yeah.
And you don't want to lock yourself into something like that.
Especially when you're paying big bucks to go somewhere. You've got big time commitments and you've got a lot of there's a lot of emotion riding on it. You look forward to these things for a long time. So getting the most out of it, I think, is brilliant. Now, this technology is not giving us an advantage over the animal. So, this is more about planning and scouting and those sorts of things. The technology that gives you unfair chase, it's a different conversation. This isn't that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. I like it.
Yep.
I may end up with a plug-in hybrid vehicle at some point. I just want Nissan Patrol to bring one out. A V8 plug-in hybrid.
I think there's a tank that's the hybrid tank, so they can build them that heavy.
Yeah. I want to be able to let the big girl drink its fuel and then have a rest on batteries at the same time. Yeah. No, we'll see what happens.
It's not technology, but it is cool stuff. Talk about the knife.
Oh yeah, that is cool. Did you like that?
Yeah. Talk about the knife.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have one to show. Have you got one to show?
Well, I don't have one, so no, okay. I don't have one to show.
So we have a bunch of, what are they? They're the Outdoor Edge knives.
Yeah, the ones that the Razor Light everyday carries.
That's it. The ones that we really like. So they're a really nice handle. They come in a couple of different colours. I think I've got all of these ones in blaze orange and black. I think they are.
Yeah. So they look like a folder.
Yeah, they're a folding knife. Yeah.
And when you fold them out, because it runs the razor style blade, but it's not like the scalpel. It's like it looks like a drop point folding knife.
Yes, it does.
So it's a larger blade and it has a more traditional knife shape, and so they call it the everyday carry. So because it looks like a good pocket knife.
Yeah, and we used it up in the territory breaking down some buffalo. I pulled 12 deer apart with it the other day and didn't need to replace the blade. You can sharpen those blades. I've given one a touch up and it works just fine.
Oh, okay.
But they are a replaceable blade, and the blades they're not exactly cheap, but they're not silly either. And for the volume of animals that you can rip apart with one, you'll get it. In my opinion, for the average hunter, you're going to get a season out of it. But anyway, when you fold the blade out, it's got a what would you call it? It's a, I don't know. It's the guide that the blade slots into.
Yeah. So the blade has like a almost like a frame that it sits in. it sits on it both holds it in place, and it makes it a little bit safer for you to actually operate it. So the top of the blade is like very much like a knife.
Yeah.
So that it's not like a scalpel layout. It looks very much like a knife.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it doesn't have a big belly in the blade, but it's a bigger than a scalpel.
But that piece is meaty enough that we've been able to get them laser engraved with Hunters Campfire logos on them. And for our hunt camp that's coming up, and this might even make it out just before hunt camp, this episode, the first 10 people to bring deer into camp will get a knife.
A shiny knife.
Get a shiny new engraved knife, and I think they look really, really schmick.
Yeah, I carry one sits in my little bag with all my meat bags and the various bits and pieces I use for butchering. So that's where mine sits in there, because that's generally once you get out, the heavy work's in, and I use it as a secondary knife. So I don't carry mine as a primary knife. I carry mine specifically for that meat work.
Yep, same. Yeah, once I've done the hocks and skinning and that sort of stuff, then I use it for the meat, and it works really well. So yes, 10 lucky people will get one of those knives at Hunt Camp in a few weeks, and they may feature on the website as something you might want to buy.
Yeah, I might be able to get some more.
Probably get some more, put them out there for sale for people that want them, make a bit of pocket money to pay for podcasting. It's good.
Don't spend it all at once.
Podcasting ain't cheap, people.
Don't spend it all at once on drones. I suppose for me, before we get into deer, another thing that I have noticed, which is not particularly great, but unfortunately is a recurring theme, is the forthcoming change of law in WA, and the effect that that's going to have in itself is terrible enough. The back and forth amongst the hunting or the gun community is pretty shitty to ask me. I really can't understand the continuing backbiting and backstabbing that's going on around that. It's just I'm just at a loss for it. People say all sorts of weird things to justify it, but all we're doing is making it easier for people to put a wedge between us.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's big groups, it's small groups. It's not all groups, but it's not just, it's just not on socials, or it's not just here. It seems to be prevalent across the board and across groups. And I just cannot for the life of me understand why people do it. I can understand that you don't agree with someone, but this is not the kind of conversation you have out in public, and especially this is not the kind of conversation that you actually promote. To me, it's just bizarre. At a level, I can understand the motivation, because to me, it's self-interest, but there is no interest like self-interest. But surely you got to put that aside and say, okay, we're dealing with a bigger problem here. But that's my hope. I'm not sure if it will happen. Maybe there's some really interesting, conversations springing up and new players appearing in that space, and maybe they're going to take a different view. But unfortunately, we seem to be at times, and I'm not the first person to say it, we seem at times to be our own worst enemy.
Have been for a while.
Yeah. Someone said to me recently, as a point of justification, what's that saying about, insanity is doing the same thing
The
over and
definition
over
of
and
insanity
expecting a
is
different outcome. Well, to me, that's true. But you could also say, well, if that's the case, then why isn't there just one gun organisation? And it's, all of a sudden, it's not so simple. That's right. It's not so simple. Your view is not the only view.
Right,
Your approach is not the only approach. And having a different approach or a slightly modified approach, it doesn't mean someone's insane. It just means they're having to go from a different angle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The most dangerous thing that we can possibly have is one organisation to rule them all.
That's right.
The boys' club gets bigger, and
many hands make light work, mate.
No. Lots of different hunting clubs with lots of different constitutions, with lots of different focuses. Some lobby, some advocate, some are for clubs, some are for hunting. But a peak body style thing you'd think would work.
Yeah, well, there's various conversations around. Politically, there's a conversation that there's some kind of the talk of creating an alliance between like-minded independents across the country, making an alliance. So basically, we've got our different agendas, but we're all pushing in the same direction. I think that's an interesting way to look at it. The flip side is there's good news out there, and I don't know why we're not hanging on that good news more and more. And, that good news doesn't have to be big news. It's just, it happens. I mean, look at hunt camp. What? There's 40 people are going to turn up to hunt camp, and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
That's pretty impressive. And, you go out to the range and you meet new people and you help them along, and they like it. They get in the sport. They get to do something they want to do. To me, that's where our energy should be. I really can't comprehend the amount of energy people put into just trying to position themselves as the leading authority in this space. So that's where I want to park that. So I want to talk about red deer.
Are you going to talk about the giant Queensland uproar?
No, I don't.
You don't want to talk about the 1,000 saviors? No.
No, I don't. I don't want
Everyone's
to talk about
claim? No, we don't talk about that?
Nope. No, I don't.
We won't talk about the fact that everyone saved the planet. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Not do that. A lot of claim. Anyway, let's talk about red deer. Red deer hunting. Let's talk about red deer hunting. Okay, so what do we know for facts? The roar is kicking off about now. We're starting to hear whispers, murmurs, rumours.
I've seen video. So I've got Brisbane Valley video. I have seen Brisbane Valley video of a deer opening its mouth and the correct sound coming out.
You're going to share?
Not to say where it was. No, I couldn't say where it's Brisbane Valley.
Can you hear the sound?
Yes.
Play it.
No.
Why? We're not going to be able to
identify. I don't know where it is.
Its location. Oh, you don't know where it is. Someone sent me something. I
haven't teed it up for it to happen. That's it.
Well.
Hang on. Let's see if I can do that.
While
you might be able to talk amongst yourselves.
There's only me left. By the way, if you haven't noticed, Jono's been very quiet tonight. We haven't addressed that. The dog ate him finally. Got him on the fence wire.
I'm trying to think where it... See, this is the other thing. We've got so many channels now that we talk to people on that I'm not sure which channel it came through on.
Yeah, again, one channel to rule them all. That would be handy.
Yeah, I actually don't know on which particular mechanism it was sent to me.
Okay, well, that's cool. I can tell you it wasn't on... It doesn't matter. So we know that the Reds have kicked off. That's cool. We've also heard that the fallow have had their little... Did we talk about this on air earlier?
Yeah, well, we're saying that you've heard...
The young fellas have started to...
And
put their toe in the water, so to speak.
I wouldn't be surprised. So when I was up there last week, and there's a video on our Facebook page, I came across a spiker and a hind together.
Yeah.
So, and on my trail cams that I've got, and I've left them up there, because I actually thought, no, I want to leave them up here through the roar, because that might actually produce some really fantastic footage. I don't know if it will or it won't, but I'm hoping it will. So I saw a number of groups of spikers together.
Groups of spikers together?
Yes. So like 3s and 4 spikers, but different groups.
They're still mucking about.
Well, they're starting to come together. And one group had a larger double 4 in it, so spikers and double 4. And there was an interesting busted double 3, and he was by himself in every shot. I saw him. He was always by himself. So he had one busted side. So he's already busted, either fighting or got caught in fence, or something's happened to him and he's lost an antler. So the block I hunt doesn't generally get big deer. I have seen big deer from the block I hunt afar, but it doesn't generally. So it's generally a bit of a roughy block.
Any year though, at any particular year.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's luck of the draw. It could change. Could be changing right now. But where they tend to roar, the camera's starting to pick them up in that space. So they're moving into, and what that is, it's around a dam that they tend to wallow in, not drink from. They tend to wallow on this dam, and they're moving in. So I've got video footage of them around that dam. I've also got video footage on another dam where they drink, but even now they're kind of doing a different behaviour. So the video footage with the dam that they wallow on, they're more around it more often. They're just there, and it's in a gully, and they roar up in that gully. And then consequently in parallel gullies going away from me. So it makes it a bit tricky. I've got to make a decision because obviously I can't get past those first deer to investigate the second deer. Or I have to make that decision to try and figure out a way to walk all the way around them. So they weren't roaring when I was there because I stayed up there till dusk. Didn't hear them roar in the afternoon, but they're certainly starting to raft up. So if it is roaring now, I would assume it's the younger deer starting up, and hopefully that will bring in some interest from larger, and of course the hinds started seeing groups of hinds moving together.
So we, when we were up there at the block with Lawson, we bumped a couple of groups of hinds, and they were all just groups of hinds with a young spiker, almost like a yearling still hanging out with its mother.
Yeah.
We did bump one group, and it had probably a double four. It would have been a double four, maybe a little bit bigger than that. And so I'm not going to say bigger, maybe a few more points there. It might have been a 4.5 or a 5.5, but it was very young. It was it's probably its first head like that out of spiker age. It dumped the girls as fast as possible as soon as it noticed that we were there, and off he went.
Oh, okay.
Got him on camera. But I'm really a bit annoyed. I got him on camera, and then I zipped down to Nundle and went and changed my trail camera SD cards out. And I'm pretty sure I put the SD card from my main camera into a trail camera. So it's now down there stuck, and I can't get the footage out. But anyway, he was there, but he was a young guy. And, he's just starting to maneuver, I think, and will eventually get bowled out by the big boys. So
the spiker and the hind that I came up on, I got within 60 metres of them, and I could have had a freezer full just then. They weren't moving, they were watching me, but they were alert, but they weren't agitated. They wouldn't move off, in fact. Lifted the camera up like that and took video of them, took video of me, and then eventually I just stood up. And then they went. But it was easy peasy lemon squeezy. I had the 38 with me, and I thought, well, I could end it all here right now and have 2 deer on the ground.
Yeah.
But I let them go. But they were starting to already show the silliness that happens to stags this time of year.
Yeah, they go a bit mental, don't they?
Yeah, they just become singularly focused.
Well, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Obviously, that's all you can do, but we know that that's going on, so that's started. That's good. There's another week between now and getting up there pretty much, so things will start to hot up a bit more. The other thing that we know is it's going to be bloody wet. The 4th year in a row, it's going to be crazy wet. We're expecting pretty torrential rain over the next 4 or 5 days. You may get a bit of clearing, but it's unlikely you're going to see clear weather on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. How are you going to approach that?
Well, I'm looking at the latest weather report right now. So it's saying that Friday and Saturday are the very heavy days. Then there's a stinking hot day on the Sunday, and then it drops off again, but it doesn't drop off too much. And they're saying Wednesday's at I'm up there, and they're saying, well, Wednesday morning early, that's the rainy day, and then Thursday and Friday. At the moment, this is just one of the predictions. As I said, I've hunted the last 4 years on one block and now 2. This is the second year on both blocks. FYI, I might have a third block soon. And it was the block that I saw the big deer on, so I'm quite excited about that. They said 4 years in a rain. 3 out of those 4 years were deer years. 1 year I didn't see the deer at this time of year. They just weren't there. They came down much later. And that was actually the year I saw the big stags, but they were all way, way in the distance, and I didn't see them until May. But what I found in the rain, it didn't seem to affect their behaviour that much at all. I don't know. It's hard to say. Would they have been more active if it wasn't raining? I don't know. But all I know is they were active in the rain.
Yeah.
So they were active. So it did not dampen their activity to the point where they weren't roaring. They were roaring. It was just raining.
Did you find that the rain kept them out longer because the dim light?
Well, see, where in the gully that I hunt them in, or the gully system that I hunt them in, the gully system, if you will, runs north-south, and I hunt it east-west. So I'm kind of crossing the gullies, so that I like to have them in front of me. And last year was, really blowy, but blowy in the good way. So towards me, it was dull, it was overcast, and in between being overcast, it was very wet. And I actually found that was really advantageous to me, other than it was bloody uncomfortable and I couldn't take my big camera because I wasn't going to carry the $3,000 camera in the rain. Other than that problem, it was quite advantageous because I could move quite quietly. There's all this wind blowing, so everything's movement. So, your movement was covered and I could get in real close. And they were doing what red deer do when they're rutting and they stand in the open and, yell their heads off. And the hinds were kind of just flat around them. There was a couple of hinds that were a bit loosey-goosey on the side, and there was a young spiker chasing up one in particular. I nearly got busted by them because they were so far up the hill. They nearly ran over me. I think the spiker got within 10 metres. He didn't know I was there because I was sitting in the grass, but I thought, he's just literally going to walk on me in a second. But I didn't find that, they weren't undercover, and every year that I've hunted them, they're not roaring from cover. They're roaring in pretty much fringy open country. So it's like, there they are. It's not like they're literally...
what I'm hoping to see.
They're not literally standing right in the open, but they're not within the heavy lantana roaring. They're in easily, viewable position. Last year, it was pouring down rain when I first... So I got there, and I think a lot of this is on video. I got there, it was pouring down rain, and I couldn't see them. And then all of a sudden, I could hear them. I went, oh, there's one. And they just appeared out of the rain. And that's happened a couple of times. It's raining, you can't see them, but you can hear them. And if you sit still long enough, the little break comes, and there they are. So that's what I'm hoping will happen to you.
Tell me about elevation. Are you finding them still low in the gullies, higher up? Are they out of the foot rot wet? Are they not caring? Like, what's your experience of wet? And let me give you a reason why I asked the question. The block that I'm hunting, if I was to describe it, it's big gully system. The high points are to the west. I've got to come from the east, but I can come from the east and I can get around the very edge, and I'll park the side by side quite some distance away, and I'll hike up the top of the hill to the back of the ridge, and then I can basically see down from the south, looking north, south-north, with the high side on my left-hand side. Prevailing wind's coming from the east, so it's blowing over. I'm not going to be in the wind unless something crazy happens. But I can basically climb up on the southern aspect of that, get around onto the western fringe tops, and I can glass down into all of these basins from right up the top of the west with the wind blowing in my face. So that's perfect. The thing I'm not sure of, because I haven't hunted reds and conditions change and potentially there's no guessing, I'm just curious whether I would be expecting to find these guys lower in the gullies or higher up out of the water, out of the muck.
Well, I'm thinking about where I hunt. So where I hunt is I approach a series of gullies that run roughly north-south, and I approach them, I come at them at 90 degrees. So I'm walking towards the east. It's more southeast, but towards the east. And the reason for that is that's the prevailing wind this time of year, right through till after May, is I'm walking into the wind.
Easterlies.
Yeah, it's not exactly easterlies, but I'm walking into the prevailing wind.
More easterly than not. Yeah.
So the advantage of that is I'm approaching them from downwind, so I can hear them before they, there's any chance that they can see me, because I'm kind of crossing gullies.
Yeah.
The downside of that is the first deer are the deer, because I can't kind of get past them. That's the trap. So I need the good deer to be in front of me, because I'm kind of locked into those deer unless I try a very different approach. And I might, if I am successful in the first morning, I might try a different approach and just explore and see what it is. But what I've found where I hunt is actually they don't mind, and again with the rain, they actually don't mind that they're in the mud. So much so that last year, I think it was there was so much rain coming out this gully, a wallow had formed in the creek, and they were in that wallow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like, it wasn't it was like a situational wallow. It was simply that the creek had been running and pulled up a bit of water under a tree, and there was mud, and they were in that mud, wallowing in that mud. So yeah, they are in they're not in the super swampy part, but they're certainly not in the high dry feed area.
Okay.
That's what I found.
So take the high ground. That's probably the smart answer.
I've never seen them roaring at the very top of a hill.
Right.
I've never seen them right at the top of the hill.
More down.
Monarch of the Glen type thing at the top, very top. And no, it's more, they're one or at the very highest that I've seen them, they're like one or two contours off the top, or they're lower down. And my speculation of that is it's easier to round up the girls when you've got them at lower points.
Yeah, and they tend to be lower anyway. That's where the cover is.
So they tend to push them, and I'm assuming that it's easier to push them down than it is to try and chase them up.
Yeah,
and that's why. And generally, the females will kind of just they'll be quite happy in more open spaces, resting on the ground or feeding, or maybe getting chased up. If one gets a bit loose, getting chased up by a satellite stag who's hanging off. But they're pretty stable, and they'll be the dominant for that particular time. The dominant red will be very, very close to them, and then there'll be players running around, and the players are often on the upward side of the face of the gully that I'm looking at. So not down below me, but going back up. They'll be up there, in the tree line or just below the tree line, drawing challenges and so on.
All right, well, that gives me an idea. It's interesting. I mean, I'll have a guide with me, so he's going to give me some ideas as we go. But yeah, just interested as to general animal behaviour in those conditions. But sounds like just got to take the time and assess what's going on.
I'm just thinking of I'm just trying to think of every deer I've ever seen roar or crow, and I can't think of one off the top of my head that was in the very highest elevated position. They've always been lower. Even in Nundle, when I shot my first fallow buck in Nundle, he was above me, but he wasn't the very top. It was like he was at a bench below. He was at a bench below the very top.
Okay.
Reds up in Brisbane Valley on the ADA blocks I used to hunt. They were in the trees, they weren't up very up high. They were in the trees. They had some elevation, but they were in that tree line. They weren't at the very top of the tree line. This is every red I've ever shot. I've shot downhill.
Okay, so you've been above, and that makes a lot of sense. But a lot of the fellow
every red I've ever shot, even the ones I've missed, I've shot downhill. I've never shot at a red uphill.
Yeah, okay.
I've been on the same level, or I've been shooting down.
Yeah, the one that I took was on the same level.
Actually, the fallow was the only one, and I was kind of just tiny bit below it.
Yeah.
But that was only because if I came up any further, I would have exposed myself. So I was using the slope to stay low. Yeah, the fallow deer I've shot, I've been equal or below them, and every red I've shot, I've been shooting down.
Good to know. All right. What other tactics do you use? Sneak up on these critters. It's good in the wet. The wet masks a lot of noise. If it's raining, you can pretty much walk in on them a lot easier. It's just eyes you've got to worry about, but they're pretty entertained usually during the rut.
Yeah, that's it. To be honest, if you locate them, and you tend to locate them by volume or sound before you lay eyes on them, unless you're in the kind of property where you can actually get some, you can actually see at a distance and glass at a distance. The property I hunt is not like that. It's continuously undulating country. Yep. So you hear them. You hear them, and it's remarkable how stupid they are when this time of year. So get in a position and sit down.
Yeah, just listen. Wait it out.
Get in a position where you can see them or very close to see them, and just sit down and listen and glass, and eventually you'll see them. And they're not, they're certainly agitated, but they're not agitated about you. They're agitated about other things. 3 or 4 years ago, I had a situation where I was coming down into this gully, and I looked over into this lantana, and there was a spiker with its melon head just looking at me, like literally looking at me. And I looked at it, and I got some video of it, and then I kept going, and it didn't move. I just kept moving down, and because I could hear this thing roaring below me, and I got down there, and it was a 3-3, and he nearly walked up on me. When I saw him, I didn't want to shoot him. I thought he's too young to shoot. And he literally was just walking at me. And then he saw me, and he was doing this weird kind of looking at me and stopping and weird on me. In the end, I lifted up my hands and just to shoot. They turn into dummies. So if you just take it easy and stay low, you'll get your shot. It's one of the few times I can get the opportunity to shoot off sticks.
So, that's okay. That poses another question. Do you call them, or do you deploy stealth and just stay concealed?
I don't call them. I don't like listening to myself on a podcast. I tell you something, I certainly don't like listening to myself pretending I'm a deer. I just go, God, mate, give it up.
Fair enough.
I just hear myself and go, that's just going to drive them off, So I just I don't.
So you don't call because you don't like the sound of your voice.
I don't think I can call
probably a little bit different. So
I don't call very well, so I don't call. So I just try to get in close. And I find that generally It's not hard. It's not hard to get in close. But
Yeah.
then again, that's how I hunt all the time. So it's just a natural thing. I try to get in close. If I can cut down to below 100 for my shots, I'm pretty happy. And if I can cut down below 80, I'm even happier. I'm usually shooting them pretty close. In fact, a couple of times I've been too close. There was a time up in the valley that I got too close and the angle was all wrong, and I literally had to stand up to take the shot. And they went, I was sneaking up on them, and I got too close. And I went, I've cut the angle wrong here. I've dropped down too low. I should have stayed up higher. I dropped down too low, and made a really bad shooting angle. So I had to stand up to change the angle. So I try to get low. I don't call. I've used the phone. I've used recordings.
Yeah.
But I've never been particularly good at attracting them. I've had them respond, but I haven't had them come closer.
Yeah, I know there's a few schools of thought. I know with fallow, I find that, any sort of calling or rubbing, scraping, paddling, whatever it is you want to call it, tends to spark the curiosity of a younger buck.
Yeah.
But trying to encourage a buck away from his harem that he's already dragged into the right place, it just doesn't work like that as far as I'm concerned. If you go and imitate yourself as a hot doe, then he's likely to come and try and round you up, but he's not going to leave his girls to come and have a scrap. More often than not, he won't do that. You're just going to give your location away to both the girls, the bikers, and the buck that's there. So good luck trying to creep in on them at that point. Roaring, I understand. It's a bit different. You are racking them up. You're antagonising them. You're doing this.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can do that from the top of hills and be well concealed at the same time can be a lot of fun at the same time. So I'm kind of interested in that process. I've spent enough time practicing roaring in the car to know that I sound like a pretty retarded red, but that's okay. We're all chasing Jeff this year, aren't we?
Well, I don't know. I don't. He might look bad, but I don't think it necessarily means he's tone deaf. I remember hunting reds in the Mary Valley, and we had 3 stags on the other side of the wire, and we tried to get them to come across.
Yeah.
And actually, the most effective thing we did that day was me rattling a sapling.
Oh yeah.
And hitting it with the stick. And that really got their attention. They came down, but they didn't cross the fence, but they certainly were looking and, really got their attention. That was probably the most effective. I was once up in the Brisbane Valley with a guy called Clinton, and he found this bit of flexible PVC, like, you find on the back of a washing machine.
Yeah, yeah.
That kind of flexible PVC. And he was using that and bending it, and man, he was getting some responses from deer. Nothing came in. We're sitting in camp, but it was fantastic. I remember him, he was bending this thing and making all sorts of full-on sounds, and he was getting so many responses.
That's good, eh?
So, if you can do it, it works. I'm just not particularly good at it. I wouldn't mind trying it. What I've adopted is crow call.
Yes, yeah.
I use the crow call on everything because it just gets their attention. I probably won't use it in the raw because I don't need. They're already preoccupied, so I don't think I need to get their attention that much.
Interesting. All right. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll deploy that. We'll see what happens, but it'll come down to volume of animals, how much fun I'm having.
Yeah.
To start with, it's about getting there and laying eyes on something and start being selective. We've got some on camera. There's, some quality animals there to look at. Heading out there and scouting and finding where they're living and the ground that they're in was one thing, but not seeing them last week was, I'm not going to say it was off-putting because it was the middle of the day. Things go to ground. It was a hot day as well. So, I'm not disheartened by it, but I'd be very interested to see what shows up. It's going to be quite interesting.
I've never done particularly well in the Brisbane Valley in the afternoon.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I have seen deer and I have taken deer in the afternoon, but generally the morning has been far more productive.
Yeah, okay.
That's Brisbane Valley, and my experience is much lesser in Mary Valley too. I've found that it seems to be a morning type of thing, so I wouldn't be surprised is that when you're there in the morning, you go, okay, I know what I'm doing now. I know where I'm going now. They're over there. I can hear them type thing,
Yeah.
I've had them roaring into the night, But yeah, I haven't had much luck as an afternoon roar. I've had them just as it dusk, as it starts to go dark. I've had them roaring. And I've certainly been in the tent. I can hear them roaring, but I've never had that kind of afternoon of success.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting.
It has happened, but it's generally not the more productive time that I've experienced. But again, this is just what I've experienced.
Yeah.
Different
Well,
blokes
those experiences
are
are all things that you bank.
Yeah. So I know when I want to get serious. So what I do is if I want to check cameras, I go in the afternoon, and I do that kind of on the proviso, for my own proviso, is that I'm not likely to bump something this afternoon. I might see something, but I probably won't. But if I'm going, I want to shoot something, I generally tend to go in the morning.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, well, that's
And that's
kind
why
of
I was using that's why, because of that, that's why I use a thermal in that morning, because what I do is I go, what's in front of me, just to make sure I don't bump something in the middle of the paddock and in the dark. Since I'm hoping they're going to be roaring, I won't actually be moving before I can see, because I want to be able to understand. I'll just listen and go, okay, they're up there, I'm moving that way.
Yeah, I think I've got the ability to move
Mm.
and put myself into position before good, first light. And that's something I'm going to have to take advantage of.
See, for me, the challenge is it's a smaller blocks. At times in the past, I've literally bumped them 5 minutes through the gate. For whatever reason, they've come down off the hills and they're feeding in the low paddocks, and you don't know they're there. And then, you can hear, that's it, something's happened. I can hear lots of movement around me, and you've chased them off before the day started. So I got used to taking a thermal and just sitting there and going, just kind of almost saying, not what was in front of me, but actually saying, oh, that's a clear path, I'll head that way.
Yeah.
I was using it to make sure. And the other problem that I have on the block, one of the blocks I hunt, is that it gets poachers.
Yeah, like a lot of blocks.
Yeah, the other block doesn't. The guy who runs that's got a bit of a reputation as being the kind of bloke you don't want to be caught poaching on.
Well, they're reputations that landholders need.
That's it. He's got a feel. He's regarded as a hard ass, so you don't muck around on his bloke.
Well, yeah. Okay, cool. What about gear? Any other particular bits of gear that you're focused on, need to be focused on for this trip?
Look, I've got the opportunity I'll be staying up there a couple of days. I've just got myself a new tent, which is the tent I borrowed when I went to the territory. So one of those Coleman Instant Up blackouts. They call them the Swagger. I've got one of those. It's fantastic. It can take a stretcher bed in it and got lots of room. What I have been doing is slowly collecting the Ryobi range of accessories, because I kind of realised I got these massive 18-volt batteries lying around everywhere. So I got a fan. I got a lantern. I just picked up a lantern. It's ridiculously, handy, and it's LED, so it draws no power and it runs on an 18-volt 5-amp battery, so it'll last the whole time up there. So for me, I'll be going quite comfortable. I'll have everything in the truck, water, the whole lot. So I've got a really nice little camping spot. I'll set up there. I won't set up there when I get there. I'll arrive, basically park the car and get out straight away. So I'm going to have to, the night before, I have to load the truck up so I can do that all in the dark. Taking the 3006, taking the normal Oryx ammo, 150, 180, bit heavy for red, should be perfect for Samba. It'll be hot, so I'm taking the lightweight gear. I won't wear my super lightweight lowers because they're not any good in wet. So I'll be wearing the Z6s. They're a better wet weather boot. Yeah, so gear pretty wise. Of course, I've got a lot of camera gear to take and things like that, so the Blue Eddy will be in there. Meat preservation wise, because it's still pretty warm, I'll have an esky and the car fridge, and the esky is where I'll put it in first to try and take the heat out of it before I put it into the car fridge.
Yeah.
Because what I found is if you drop it straight in the car fridge will jump up to 25, 30 degrees, and then it'll settle down. So what I've found over the years is throw it in an esky, let the esky kind of take that real heat out of it, and then you prep it. Then you can do a bit more prep, break it down a little bit more, put it in the car fridge, and then it'll be fine in the car fridge for days. because it's in a proper refrigeration.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
usually-
Once you cool it down, it's way better.
And I usually lift the car fridge of temperature up to around 4 or 5, because if I put it down to 1 and 2, what will happen? Because car fridges don't have circulation, you'll get that freezing on the bottom, which I want to avoid. So if it's, somewhere between, 3 and 4 degrees for 2 or 3 days, it's going to be perfect when it gets home.
Good.
Because I'm coming to go see, intend to come see you, so I won't be home till late Friday afternoon, if not Friday night. So I might have meat on board for a couple of days at least.
Yeah. Good. Okay. I think that pretty much covers what's going on with reds. Nothing we've missed that you can think of.
If I'm really lucky, I'll see some pigs as well.
Oh, I got some good photos of pigs on this block. We won't be bombing them up when there's red stags to be shot, though, mate. I'm sorry.
I will be. If I see pigs, I'm bombing them up.
All good. All right. Well, good luck. Good luck. We probably won't podcast again before we all head away. So best of luck with it. We'll stay in touch on the ZOLEOs, and we'll keep the punters updated as to what's going on.
Charge my ZOLEO up.
That's a good idea. Make sure it's all still functional.
I gotta find it. It's around here somewhere. It's in my car.
Have we got anything else you want to cover before we?
Looking at the list, no. Can't think of anything.
No, all good. All right, we'll call it a night, I reckon.
Okay, buddy.
Take it easy,
Best
be
of
safe,
luck.
and
I'll see you in person sometime late next week.
sounds perfect.
Okay.
All right, mate. Catch up.
See ya.